All right, welcome back to the Reserve Squad. We are on the ninth episode. Hope everyone's enjoying it so far. Today, it's kind of your host. Today, more of a panelist, Cameron and Tyler. Here today, it's gonna go ahead and talk about Champions League, kind of expectations for 2021, and all the gossip going on around major parts of soccer and and Europa as well. So let's go ahead and get this started. But make sure that you follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify. Make sure you subscribe. It is the Reserve Squad on Instagram. No spaces, of course. So just the Reserve Squad. Same for YouTube. It's the standard name, and Spotify as well. Let's start real quick with some casual conversation. How you doing, Tyler?
I'm doing well, man. It's been a few days since we've gotten to record. Been a few days since the Champions League final. I've had to hold my excitement in for quite some time. Glad to finally be here and finally get a chance to record this podcast episode with you and talk some soccer.
Definitely. And yeah, it's been a while. It's been too long. I will say I'm still not a fan of CBS All Access, and
Oh my gosh.
it's awful. But Champions League is over. It was an amazing Project Restart for Champions League. A lot to talk about if you look at it all in review. But the main point, the final, PSG takes their L in the final to Bayern Munich in a 1-0 loss. Great game overall.
Awesome
Great.
game.
You could tell that neither team wanted to give up a goal. PSG missed some chances, but 1-0. Kingsley Coman puts in the backhand net, the former PSG player.
Right? How about that?
Yeah, you just can't write a script like that. I wonder how he felt.
Yeah. I don't know. It's pretty interesting. I think because there's so much German and French on the field during that game, and Kingsley Coman's a guy who's been to a lot of big teams. He's won a lot at a young age, and to score against the former Frenchman's team, the PSG, probably a little bittersweet. But when you're in the Champions League and you've been playing for Bayern for a few years, I think it was more sweet than bitter for sure.
Definitely. I think he felt all right. I think
Yeah.
he's won some trophies with them, but he won the big one with Bayern, and he's gonna walk away a happy camper. And they're still all gonna be friends. But what was your take on the overall game? What was your favorite part about the game other than the goal?
Man, no, my favorite part of the game was just to see just the way it ended, like to see the joy and hard work be paid off for Bayern Munich. I think Robert Lewandowski in the days since has been fun to kind of keep tabs on. Waking up in bed next to the trophy and things like that. People forget that he was on Dortmund's squad when Bayern won back in 2013 and lost to Bayern then. So he knows what it's like to make it all the way to a final and lose, and to see the relief and complete wholeness for the season for him, I thought was really cool. And a 1-0 scoreline, man, the game was way more exciting than a 1-0 scoreline. I think the first maybe 15, 20 maximum minutes or so, there was a little bit of a conservative approach, a little bit of nerves on both sides. And then the game really started to open up, and it was back and forth. I thought there were multiple chances on both sides. It could have easily been 3 or 4-2, at halftime. And in the second half didn't let up either. It was fun to watch from a neutral fan point, but from a Bayern's fan point, I was very nervous the whole time. I was very excited, and then once we got the goal, I felt very confident. And I don't know. It was a few days ago. I'm still overjoyed, but it was a fun time, fun tournament overall, and a fun final.
No, it was a good final, and I'm sure you guys have heard this in the past, but we have a chat and a group message, and Tyler doesn't talk during his Bayern games normally, but he's peeked in at halftime, and I was kind of grinding some gears, so got to keep the pot stirred. But no, great game. PSG looked good. I thought PSG should have had a goal or two. Bayern should have had a few. Neuer's massive, per usual.
Neuer played really, really well. I was very impressed, and that's something as a Bayern fan we've been kind of looking for from him for since he came back from injury, really. And to see him put that kind of performance down was awesome.
Yeah, I think it was important that he realized his role wasn't going to be a sweeper role. It was going to be a keeper role, and he owned it. He was the wall that he can always be. But I think it's just important to realize, like, who are they without him? Without him, do they lose that game? So it's just crazy. It was cool to see Thiago Silva play his last game in PSG uniform,
Yeah.
most likely. And I thought PSG had a great game. Neymar played okay. I thought he had a little bit too much of the ball towards the end of the game. It wasn't working. Get it to Mbappe. You have other threats.
Yeah. I felt like one of the difference factors or X factors and difference makers, however you want to view it, was just the overall experience, right? You could tell Bayern's a team that has been there and done that. And it was especially apparent to me once Kingsley Coman scored. A lot of the players on PSG kind of looked a little defeated, a little deflated. And I think they struggled to rebound from that. Whereas Bayern, they kind of weathered the storm from PSG in the first half, and they were able to, stay composed. They lost Boateng to injury. It didn't matter, plug and place Niklas Zule in there, and they just kept doing their thing like the German machine that they are. And I think that was a little evident. I think PSG will be back. And one thing I will say too, I want to touch on Neymar and the PSG side a little bit. I know I obviously talk a lot about Bayern, but I was very impressed with PSG. I know when we watched CBS and all their analysts were all picking PSG, I was a little miffed because I felt that Bayern was the clear favorite going into this. But I underestimated PSG, and for quite some time I was a little worried during that game. And Neymar specifically, man, I hate on him a lot. Over the last years, I have been a Neymar hater. I've always felt that he kind of dives a little bit, and I don't like that sort of soccer, things like that. But he really gained my respect in that final. I thought he had arguably some of the best effort out of everyone else on the squad. You could tell he was trying to put the team on his back, but he was also passing the ball. He wasn't being 100% selfish. He was trying to do whatever it took to get a goal and to will his team on. And regardless of how I feel about him in the past, he earned my respect in that game, and that's, for those of you that don't know me, that's quite a bit for me to say because he's not one of my favorite players at all. I think Mbappe is an absolute stud, and I think PSG will be back. And you hit on it too, Thiago Silva, man. Not only was that his last game for PSG, but he really, really played well. He's the heart and soul of that defense. That was fun to see him play as well as he did and command that back line. And I think there's going to be more to come from them, especially having tasted the final a little bit, that it's a sour taste making it all the way and losing, but it's going to be another chip on their shoulder for the next time they're in this tournament next season.
Yeah, I think the important takeaways are PSG's legit. No one roots for PSG in the social media hub, and everyone hates on them. I've never had a problem with PSG. I've never thought that they had the quality to be where they were this time around.
Right.
I knew that maybe they were playing the right Bayern team at the right time. Bayern had a few months off of soccer, then they're thrown right back into the gauntlet. So I thought maybe they could have pulled it off. With this team, I think losing Thiago Silva is going to do more to the team than maybe we might expect. But they're going to be back. They are legit. They have a good coach there. He's going to do the right thing for them.
Yeah, I really like Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah, I think he's the right guy. Interesting to see what happens in the offseason. Ander Herrera had a great game. I thought one of the best games he's one of those guys.
Yeah, that's another thing too. I've always felt that PSG's midfield has been their weakest point, especially when Verratti's injured. But I thought they played well. They had the right game plan against Bayern. I think there was just a little bit of destiny on the Bayern side. It's ever since Hansi Flick has taken over, it seems to have been their season, and there hasn't been anyone able to stop them. And that's the case it stayed the same for PSG. But that's definitely an interesting take. I think you're right. PSG's for real, and Bayern's going to be tough to beat, not only last year but moving forward too.
Yeah, and I think kind of to my point is if you catch Bayern week in week out, that game might not even be that close.
Right.
But I thought maybe with the way it worked, I knew it was going to be a good final. I think you don't remember how important a keeper is to a team until you watch a game like that. Sometimes you forget because you watch all these B-rated goalkeepers and they let goals in. They're going to. But then you see Neuer back there on a Neymar one-on-one. That
was an awesome save. And Navas too on the other end had a few important moments. There was one that I remember specifically was a hard cross coming across his box, and he just stopped it and held onto it. A lot of goalies that bounces off their hands and keeps going across, and that's a goal. But he stopped it. There was no rebound, no deflection or anything like that. I thought that was important. There was an instinctual save on one moment in the first half. Lewandowski had an awkward play where Lewandowski's instincts led to a weird header, and he gets the ball on net, and I'm like, I jumped up out of my chair. I thought he was going to score, but Navas had equally good instincts there. So I think when you look around the field at individual players, there were a lot of standout performances. Thiago could have been his last game for Bayern Munich. Absolutely ran the field. Kimmich was a beast defensively. I thought Davies didn't have as good of a game as he did against Barcelona, but he showed a little bit of inexperience on his part. Di Maria was making him look pretty bad for a lot of that game. And then they swapped sides. Mbappe didn't really do as much against Davies. They swapped again. I thought that was good on PSG's part too. And like I said, Mbappe, Di Maria, Neymar, that's a trio that I don't really want to mess with ever again. So hopefully I don't have to see them again anytime soon.
Yeah, it's just when you throw the 3 world-class players over the top, it's always going to be a threat. You look at teams like 2019 Liverpool, it's kind of the same situation, but this is on a bigger stage, a bigger level, I would say,
Yeah.
of kind of the aura around these players. But I think, personally, I thought Kimmich had a better game than he did against Lyon. And
Agreed.
I thought Thiago played awful against Lyon. And
Yeah.
he showed up in the final. Personally, those are 2 positions that need to be strong against PSG, and I'm glad they were. And you said they'd be back, after the Lyon game in our chat. So I was happy to, see them pull together. Bayern, it was destined to be the win. I don't know what the CBS guys are talking about. Everyone picking PSG as a favorite. That's not the right thing. We all know that. Like just because they have Neymar doesn't mean they're the favorite. like
Yeah, and it goes back to the, how much Bayern plays as an 11-man squad versus playing against 2 or 3 people. And I'm not here to talk smack about CBS, but I think it could have been a little bit better, and I'm not as happy having to transfer to that format as I thought I would be. Granted, it was on CBS Sports Network, so you could watch it on TV. It wasn't on, specific to All Access. But a lot of these Champions League games moving forward are going to be on All Access, and some of it was a little bit cringeworthy at times. And that's a topic for another day probably, but we'll see how it is. I still have high hopes that ESPN is going to do the Bundesliga right, and that at the very least I'll get to see more Bayern games. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
grass is always greener on the other side, right?
I guess I did definitely, and I just think when it came down to like the analysts and the predictions, is that how can you look at the entire season and not think that's Bayern's trophy to lose? So to me, it's just it didn't irk me. It's just like, what are you doing? And then you have with the rights and the television, I'm okay with it because if you look at like the UK Premier League's like that, they
Yeah,
only play like 2 games.
that's true.
So it's gonna go that way. I don't like it, but I get why they're doing it. But more UEFA games happened since we last spoke. None of us got the predictions right.
Nope.
So we have Sevilla beating Inter Milan in the Europa League final, 3-2, and a great game. A lot happened. Goal scoring early, goal scoring in the middle of the game, and goal scoring late. I Sevilla is just Europa League, kings. I don't know why they're always there, but they are.
Yeah,
So
and looking back on predictions, I was a little disappointed in myself not thinking about the fact that they've been there for the last few years and have been doing it. And for whatever reason, Europa's like their thing, and more power to them for it. That's good for them, especially when they're in a Spanish league that has Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Atletico always having to compete with them to get 4th place in Spanish league and go win Europa. That's a good season for them, and we'll see Sevilla in the Champions League next year because of it. And I thought that their style of play was good, and it was the right thing. They beat Manchester United, they make the final, and they give Ente a tough time. And I think on Ente's part there was some questionable coaching. I like Conte. I know you're probably going to touch on that in a second here, but overall it was a good game. It was fun to be a part of. I was rooting for Ente, but it's good to see Sevilla lift the trophy and move forward from there.
yeah, Ender Banega had a great game. Jesus Navas had a great game. Those are guys at Sevilla that have the
Luke De Jong.
yeah, Luke De Jong, of course, right? Great game.
That was awesome.
I just think the team doesn't have like yes, they're always in Europa League, but they don't have that like world-class talent that you're looking at that Ente has. So it's
Right.
important to have Jesus Navas there and Eder Banega, people who've been there. I think it's Banega's last game for Sevilla too. So to go out on top is a huge thing for a player who's been in La Liga as far as I can remember.
Yeah.
With Valencia and things like that. So Luke De Jong, great game. Their set pieces were great.
Yep.
They didn't put a foot wrong often. Lukaku got a penalty early. Uh, I think if that happens later in the game and not in the 5th minute, maybe it's a red card.
Yeah.
So
Who knows?
but
That
Lukaku
was
gets the
tough.
score sheet. That was good to see. I think to what you said, Conte. I like him too. I think he's a good coach. Is he a winner? I don't know. I thought it was bad tactics. You wait to bring on two world-class players, and when you just wait until they score on you to do it. Like, why not?
78th minute, man. He
Yeah,
makes those substitutions in the 78th minute. He brings on Christian Eriksen. You got to give Christian Eriksen more than 12 minutes.
yeah, and not only I mean, even Alexis Sanchez, as much as he's not who he used to be, he's worth more than 12 minutes against Sevilla. You
Right.
know,
Yeah. Well, and I get, you've got Lukaku and you've got Lautaro Martinez that are in the pecking order over Alexis Sanchez. I get that. But if it's not working, it's not working. You got to make the change sooner than the 78th minute. And I really don't understand not starting Christian Eriksen. I know if Andy were here, he would talk to me about a whole spiel about, form this and form that. Look, Christian Eriksen is one of the most X factor key players in the world, in my opinion. And I think he deserves to start in every single midfield, at least, most, especially in a midfield of Europa quality. And don't get me wrong, Ente's midfield's great, and for the tactics that they run, it may be a little more defensive for Eriksen, but you got to have him out on the field because every time I've watched Ente play, they've subbed him on, and the game has completely changed into their favor. And it was just another situation of too little, too late for them, and they don't end up with the trophy.
Well, and I think it's important to remember one of their goals was a penalty. So if you're Conte, you have to be looking at it and say, we only naturally got one goal in that net, and they've gotten two or three. There was an own goal, what have you, but it was still it was a penalty. It wasn't a set goal. So to me, you got to look at it and say, the guys that I have on my roster, who's going to make my difference and when are they going to make it? Are they going to make it in 12 minutes? Like, no, these people aren't like Andy Carroll, one goal.
60th minute. They needed a half an hour to work into that game.
Like, they're not these kind of guys that are like, oh, yeah, put me in for 5 minutes, and that's really all I have for you because I can't play a full 90, but I can score if you give me 5 minutes. You know what I mean? There's only a few players like that are late game subs that are proven impactful.
Olivier Giroud is one of them, right?
He's a super sub where I would say, he needs 20 minutes. You don't put him in the 85th.
That's true.
Like, oh man, when they brought on Candreva, after the 80th minute, I was like, what are they doing? Like he should have been on, even though he's old. You need goals. So Victor Moses made no impact on the game whatsoever when he came on. Lukaku was, I don't want to say irrelevant in the whole second half, but he wasn't getting fed the ball. Once again, Andy would beat us up about the defensive shape they have.
Yeah.
But Eriksen,
again, you put Eriksen on the field and he starts feeding Lukaku and the game changes. I don't care what your defensive shape is when you're down with less than a half to go.
Yeah, and Ashley Young towards the end of the game was trying to make things work with Alexis Sanchez on the left. Eriksen was feeding. It looked like it was going to work. It was just needed time. Yep. It was too little too late. But Sevilla, congratulations. You deserve it. Ente, we expect more from you. Especially with the project going on there next year in Champions League.
Both teams will be in Champions League next year. That's another thing too. I think even with Sevilla winning, both teams still have steps to take to be competitive in the Champions League and start thinking about round of 16, final 8 teams and beyond. Sevilla and Ente aren't really on the tip of my tongue for that, and they need to make moves to make that happen.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm excited for 2021 Champions League. It's already started, which is crazy. Celtics, for you guys who don't know, they already lost in qualifying, so one big shakeup already. But 2021 has a lot to offer, and we all have a bunch of perspectives on what we are most excited about. Let's start with Andy's. Let's get Andy's out the way, and then we'll work to yours, mine, Frankie's. All right.
Sounds good.
Andy's favorite, the thing he's most looking forward to in 2021 is Manchester United back in the Champions League. Personally, I'm excited to have them in the Champions League because I'm a Premier League fan and I defend this Premier League more than I should. So I'm happy to see them in it. Let's see if they make an impact with the whole everything going on there with their captain and the rest of transfer.
It's
We'll
been a
see.
wild week, hasn't it?
Dude, it's been crazy, and it was pretty quiet. The
Yeah.
whole final week, Europa, Champions League, and this week it was just like it's popping off.
As soon as the Champions League final is over, everything, let the champagne bottle pop.
So personally, I'm excited to see them there. I don't know what their impact will be, but they need to be there. They're a club that should be there.
Yeah, same. I think that's a good one for Andy, especially him being a United fan. I think every United fan is excited to be back in the Champions League. I think really, I'm like you said, when it comes to the English Premier League, I'm happy with the teams that are going in. You've got Liverpool, City, Chelsea, and United. That's a good group of four right there. And that doesn't even factor in everybody else that's involved. I think there's some good chances just between those four, and I like what Chelsea's doing. But from a United perspective, I think they're one or two pieces away. Whether they make that happen here in the next few weeks or not, I don't know. We'll see. We'll probably touch more on that on our transfer episodes. But I am excited to see what United can bring to the table next season too.
Yeah, interesting squad. They're young. They're meshing. We'll see what it looks like. Let's go ahead and talk about yours. What's your most exciting?
Man, it's tough because there's so many. There's so many things I'm excited about in the world of football going into next year in the 2021 season. It's hard to give you just one, so I'm going to give you two. From a Bayern perspective, I'm excited about Leroy Sané. Right, you look at what we just did in 2020 and the machine that was considered unstoppable, and we had Kingsley Coman and Ivan Perisic oftentimes playing that left side. Well, now you bring on Leroy Sané to play with Lewandowski and Gnabry as a front three. That to me, that trio is scary, and that doesn't even. I haven't even mentioned the fact that Alphonso Davies is going to be on the same side as Leroy Sané. The speed is just unreal. So I'm excited to see if Bayern can continue the trend under Hansi Flick with a whole season, and I'm curious to see if we can be there for 2021 Champions League final. I know earlier in our chat we talked about who would you take, 2019 Liverpool or 2020 Bayern. I kind of hope that that's the 2021 matchup. I think that would be a fun one. To be able to see happen, but that's beyond the point. That's just I'm excited in general about Bayern, but for me, I'm excited to have the international tournament back. I'm excited for the Euros. That's going to be next summer. I think it's going to be very interesting because when you factor in, since the return to play, these guys have been playing for multiple months straight. They don't get very much of a break, and they get started right back up again here soon. And then they got to play an entire season, and then they don't get a break because now they got to go to the European Championships. I think that COVID's going to have a lasting impact. I think guys are going to have to take care of their bodies. It's going to be a grueling tournament when we get there, and there's always some surprise teams. The Icelands, the Portugals of the world, and I think Croatia, and I think more importantly than the Euros in general, I think we're starting in by summer 2021. I think it'll be even more evident. I think we're starting to see kind of the end of that, era that we've been in as far as Ronaldo, Messi type era. And there's a lot of really exciting youth that's coming up, and we're going to see a lot of that in the Euros. And I don't know. I think if I had to pick one thing, the 2021 European Championships are what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. It's going to be. I'm happy to have a major European tournament back because we missed the Olympics this year.
Right. Right.
So you got to have those world stage type of tournaments. It's good for the sports.
Agreed.
Personally, with Leroy Sané, how important was that goal of Kingsley Coman in the Champions League?
That's a good question.
You can keep that in his back pocket when he's not playing. So it's interesting.
But I think there'll be a good rotation there. I think Kingsley Coman's still going to see plenty of time. I think the guy that's going to end up with the short end of the stick is Perisic. I don't even know if he's going to continue to be on the squad. I don't know if we extended his loan or not, or if he's going back to, speaking of Ente, he's another guy that can make a difference there. So we'll see where Perisic ends up, but he'll definitely be the guy that gets the short straw out of those ones.
Yeah, and Coman will see plenty of playing time, but that's an important goal. He is young too, so he just needs to keep that in mind. But yeah, man, Sané's going to be amazing there. Man, you guys are going to be sick. It's sickening. I hope
It's fun to watch.
I hope Coutinho comes back. I know he won't.
And even I don't want to get too sidebarred, but if you think about Dortmund, are arguably our biggest competition in Germany, their front three if Royce stays healthy and Sancho stays there, which right now it's looking like could happen, you're looking at Royce, Sancho, and Holland. That's a trio that I don't want to mess with either. That's going to be fun to watch too. I don't know. There's so many things to be excited about.
You're going to see them 5 times. The cup
Yeah.
games and,
Yep.
your
And
regular matches.
and because of the new ESPN deal, I'm going to watch them 5 times.
It's awesome. But yeah, so what I'm most excited about is fans coming back. I know it'll be staggered and it'll be different ways in a
Yes.
country. Whether the stadium's 25% full, what have you. Fans coming back. It's massive. It's important to the clubs. They're losing out on revenue. Especially when you look at like the second Bundesliga and you look at like the Championship and League One in the England. These teams, if people aren't there, they're not making enough money off merchandise, to keep themselves, afloat. So it's got to happen, and hopefully they do it the right way, and
Did
by
you see
helping
the
back.
Super Cup news with fans?
No.
I think let me confirm. I think I got a notification earlier today. I think that's going to be the first game that has fans back, in a limited capacity, of course. I don't have it still on there, but we might have to check me on that one. But I think the Super Cup, which I believe is going to be Bayern versus Sevilla, should have fans back if I'm remembering and thinking about that correctly. So for those of you that are watching, or you Cam in general too, we'll fact check that later. But I think that got announced earlier. So I agree with you. I think having fans in sports in general is like the most important thing. So
Yeah.
to me, that's I didn't even think about that. So that's a really good thing to be excited for. And also, we're fans, right? I want to go to a game if I can. Obviously, I don't live in Europe, but whether it's any sport, I'd like to be back into some capacity viewing games live.
Definitely. It's crucial to the sports, especially like soccer. And when you think about what soccer comes from and what it means to the working
Yeah.
class, it plays a big role in society in countries like Brazil, and just any other country where it's the biggest sport and not everyone's a millionaire. So it's massive that those people get out to the game once a month, once a year, what have you. So I can't wait to have fans back. Um, Second thing, because I'm gonna snag two in because I'm here as well. Second thing I'm excited about is seeing Eberike Eze on Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Not completely confirmed yet. He's got medical this week, but we're gonna make some money at QPR off him. More power to him. He's in the Premier League. He deserves it. So I'm hyped about that. So I can't lie. That's what
Yeah, I'm excited too because I know you're excited, right? That's like your favorite. QPR is your team, and to go from QPR to Crystal Palace, I know you're a huge Palace fan too.
Yeah.
So I think that's I know seeing him go is heartbreaking, but if he's going to go anywhere, that's probably the best destination for you
Yeah.
as a fan. So that's going to be something I'm sure we'll talk about more often as we
Yeah.
move into next season.
Yeah, hopefully he makes an impact. Hopefully he's not a dud and I don't look like a fool. So, for his own sake, he stays in London. It's good. He's young. He's going to need his foundation still. So I'm glad he's not going to Newcastle or anything. Hopefully he can take the strong attributes that people like Zaha and the midfield at Palace bring to the table, and he can make his craft better.
Yeah, if
Uh,
Zaha stays.
yeah, right. I know. Maybe this keeps him there. We'll see, but I doubt it. But money talks.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's move on to Frankie's. He's most excited to see what happens with Lionel Messi. My goodness, what is little Leo gonna do? It's crazy. Barcelona had the worst day in sports yesterday. So
God. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I mean, you must be living under a rock, so I doubt you're watching this, but Messi wants to leave Barcelona. So there's that.
there's $700 million release clause. Andy's not excited about it if Barcelona holds up their end of that. We'll see the president step down, Bartomeu.
Yeah.
Suarez has apparently terminated contract already. There's talk about Vidal leaving now. It's just not a good place to be. But I'll tell you one thing: they're going to be good enough to stay in Champions League competition. They'll finish top three probably in La Liga, regardless.
So probably we talked about having them lock Coutinho out after he scored 2 goals against them. They're probably going to welcome him with open arms now.
Now he's gonna have the door locked. Now they got a whole chauffeur at the airport for him. But no, man, Messi, what's he gonna do? Oh, Frankie, I'm glad that this is your topic. Whew. You know what? I'm just happy to see him go.
Yeah, I think
I don't want to see him go, and I hate how it's happening. hopefully he can be successful on some level in another, league, and he can prove his haters wrong because there are haters,
Yeah.
who think he's like, oh, he's only been in La Liga, he's had it easy. Look what Ronaldo's done, and they're not wrong. They're not wrong. But hopefully he can silence that because he's a good dude, and it's hard not to like him.
Yeah, I think it's a fitting decision for Frankie, right? I know he's always been an Italian soccer fan, but he's always liked Barcelona and Messi specifically too. And I mean, it's just a huge shakeup in soccer, right? We witnessed it not too long ago when Ronaldo requested to leave Real Madrid. I know it's a completely different situation compared to what Messi's going through and what Barcelona in general are going through. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as Messi says he wants to go, so he gets to go. There's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of moving gears that need to fit into the puzzle to make this actually happen and be successful. And whatever team does get him has to make sure they avoid financial fair play. At least I think they have to make sure they avoid that. But nowadays it seems like you can get away with whatever you want to do and not have to worry about it. But that's because I'm still salty about City not being banned out of UEFA. And the fact that they're also a huge rumored team to bring him in makes even less sense to me. So, whatever the hell financial fair play means is apparently nothing because, anyways, that's beside the point. As far as Messi goes, there's a handful of teams that want him. I think almost, not every team in the world, but I think almost every team out there would be able to utilize his talents in a good way. And wherever he goes, whether it be City or PSG or an English team that isn't City, or Inter, wherever he goes, Juventus, who knows? I doubt they can afford to have both him and Ronaldo, but wherever Messi goes is going to be a storyline to come. It's going to be something we talk about a lot, and it's something that not just Frankie, but everybody should be anxious and filled with anticipation to see what happens.
Yeah, and for some reason, it seems like there's the move that'll shock the world type feeling around it more so than there was when Ronaldo left. And
Yeah.
I don't really know why because they're different but equal quality. Best two players probably ever. So
Yeah. Well, Andy, we all also talked about this in our group chat for quite a bit, and I think Andy made a fair point when he said that Messi is a career Barcelona man.
yeah,
United was not, or I'm sorry, Ronaldo was at United before, Madrid. He was not a career Madrid man, although he did a lot for Madrid, and brought in a lot of trophies and a lot of records for them. He wasn't a career youth academy Madrid man the way that Messi is. And so I know if Andy were here, he would talk about how he would hope that Barcelona do whatever they can to help Messi find a solution. And then of course, from the business perspective, how do they handle that? Because it's tough to just let someone like with the value of Messi go for free. So that, like I said, that kind of ties into the idea of there's a lot of moving pieces, a lot that still needs to be ironed out with this. So I would say, as anxious and as we all are, we still got to have a little bit of patience. It's possible he ends up staying, but it doesn't seem likely right now.
no, I don't think it's happening. And you're right. Ronaldo never said, I want to finish my career, Real Madrid or United. And, Messi was found out of, Newville Old Boys and, joined La Masia and made everything at Barcelona through the academy. They made him who he is just as much as he made them who,
Yep.
are. So, you hate to see it go down like this, but you got guys like Puyol and Suarez already online, like, giving him ups, like, respect, Barca
Yeah.
do too for him. But, I think you bring up a good point about this financial fair play thing, right? Because how in the world are City, even, when you think about what happened to him, and by the way, our chat's called Butthurt about City, because none of us are happy with what happened there. How are they even, like, of course, the stipulation, but right, the financial fair play. How if they get them, that's going to be frustrating. If Chelsea get them, you look at everything they've done this year. How
It's
are they not
frustrating.
infringing on FFP?
Right.
And then you look at Arsenal, who's cutting wages to sign players, and
Would he really want to go there, even if they could afford it? Probably
yeah,
not. But
yeah,
there's two other teams too that you haven't got to. Is Juventus and PSG are teams that are on the short list for him too. How can PSG possibly afford Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi? Although that would be the greatest trio, arguably, of all time. That's just not realistically affordable. And same thing for Juventus. How can you have both Ronaldo and Messi? As much of a dream as that would be come true for all of us, their wages are just too demanding unless someone takes serious pay cuts, which in my opinion, these guys like Ronaldo and Messi, what is a pay cut going to do to them? I mean, they've already, they get so much money off endorsements anyways, but that's beside the point. I just, I think that all of the teams that he would want to go to are going to struggle to financially make it appeasable for him. And that's where a situation like Barcelona has to come in and be like, well, obviously the $700 million release clause is not feasible for anyone. No. And this whole idea of him having a free release clause expired in June, so that's kind of irrelevant at this point. Barcelona has to be able to step up and say, look, we want to make something off of you, but like instead of selling you for $100 million, maybe we only sell you for a little bit less. That way the team that you're going to can fit in the financial fair play rules. But again, it begs the whole underlying question of how serious is financial fair play even going to be? Because by the time whoever buys Lionel Messi, by the time this becomes an issue in the financial fair play courts, it's going to be years from now. Messi will have retired, and it'll probably be time barred from the statute of limitations, and they'll get away with it the same way City did because there's no backbone for financial fair play right now. So there's a lot of pieces, like I said, that are being thrown around here just because Messi requested to leave. It's absolutely asinine.
And I think the only two teams we haven't mentioned that are still supposedly able to afford him, right? I listed out most of the English ones is United and Inter.
Yeah.
So you even look at United and say, yeah, I get they're the number one brand in the world potentially, but their wages are high too.
Pogba's like the 5th highest paid athlete in the world.
Yeah,
and people don't know that.
Yeah, and then think about it. You have 2 goalkeepers who are getting paid over $100,000 right now.
You have one just extended.
Yeah, exactly. And you got all the youth up front that's getting paid. Well, not all of them yet, but and then you got a midfield with expensive high players like Matic. He's not cheap,
Yeah.
But you do look at Messi and Ronaldo and say, look, they could be like Tom Brady. They could take that pay cut. They could make it work if they want to win. And how bad do you want to win? And he might do that with City to play with Pep and Kuhn, and we'll see.
Yeah, but Sterling, KDB, that would be a crazy attack. Let me ask you this: if you're United, I'll pause there for a second and let you think about that. Sterling, Aguero, or Jesus, and then Messi with KDB in behind. And you've got Gundogan and Rodri holding midfield. Yeah. And then they just bought the new center back, Ake, along with whoever they play at center back, Otamendi or whoever else, right? So like that's a serious squad.
Kyle Walker out wide.
Kyle Walker, that's nothing to mess with. But let me ask you this: if you're United, and hear me out. So this is from a business perspective, and I know what most people would say, and I'm probably going to end up with the devil's advocate argument here. Do you think it's a better investment to try to figure out how to sign Messi or to spend the money on Jadon Sancho? And I wish Andy were here for this. I'm going to ask him.
I don't.
I'm going to ask him this.
We go on for hours. Oh, we do have that. Dang. For the business perspective, I think Messi in 3 years can bring you more revenue than Jadon Sancho if you don't win. So
interesting.
When you think about tickets, memorabilia, and everything that Messi's going to bring to the table for you, in a 5-year span, 3-year span, if you don't win with Jadon Sancho, it's not worth the gamble, right? Messi's going to get you that money. Like he's going to get you that bread regardless, even if you don't win.
Yeah.
It's just who he is and what he brings to the table.
I think that's a really good take because Lionel Messi, in and of itself, he is a brand.
Yeah.
He is a brand that might even be bigger than the Manchester United brand itself. Or I mean, realistically, it isn't. But if he were to go there, the impact would be huge financially for them. From a trophy perspective, is he going to bring in 3 trophies in 3 years at Man U? I don't know. So like from a field on the pitch analytics perspective, someone might say, all the fan people are going to say Messi for sure because he's just better than Sancho. But Sancho is a much more long-term investment. He's someone that could come in and provide stability in that area for 10 plus years, assuming they don't just buy in on Greenwood. But that's kind of the point that I was going to say is, long term, Jadon Sancho is going to be there a lot longer. But I think it's hard to argue your point of how much of a brand exposure value that Lionel Messi is, and how much endorsements and sponsorship deals that are going to come to whatever team signs him. And if I could touch on Ente for a second, I actually think that move makes a lot more sense than people would imagine. I think they're a team that, they've got high wages with people like Lukaku and Alexis Sanchez and Ivan Perisic and Christian Eriksen, but they're another team where if they can find a way to make it work financially to bring in Lionel Messi, they've brought a lot in, and I think that would convince Lautaro Martinez to stay. Now you're talking about having Messi, Martinez, Lukaku up there, and if Eriksen gets a starting role, all of a sudden, I talked about Ente needs to take some steps to be competitive in the Champions League. Well, there it is, right? They're there. So I think all of the teams we mentioned are interesting. I don't know how they're going to make it affordable. I don't know where he's going to end up. But wherever it is, that's going to be we'll talk about this a lot more.
Yeah.
For sure.
And my last note will be, as much as I don't want it, how cool would it be to see him play with KDB? Oh, that's just like two of the best midfielders of our time playing together. You know?
I wonder how much too, and this is just solely to play devil's advocate here, because I am a fan. I hate City, but I am a fan of that duo. But to play devil's advocate, I wonder if it would shake things up at all. And what I mean by that is City really play through KDB a lot, and it works. And Barcelona play through Messi a lot, and it works. So you put them both on the same team, you can't really play through one a lot. They're both going to have their impact. Is it going to turn into a negative impact or a positive? I know I sound crazy arguing that Messi could be a negative impact, but the reality is it's possible that it could happen that way.
A little bit in the chemistry. And
right.
I really don't know if he is. I don't know his relationship with Kun Aguero. I think it's good, but I've also think it's not is like his relationship with Dybala. So
yeah.
But he likes Pep, so we'll see. But yeah, that's scary. But any last thoughts? Anything before we go? Crazy week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of excited in general, right? Obviously, coming off the Bayern win, I got to remind everybody that one more time. Champions League, we deserve it. The treble, it was our year. So excited to look back on Champions League and what 2020 has been for sure. And then excited to look forward to 2021. I know next week the game plan is to probably start switching back more towards a little bit of the English Premier League and start previewing what that's going to look like. The first game, September 12th. So for those of you that didn't know that, mark your calendars. Should be exciting, and hopefully we'll get all four of us back on here soon for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. My last bit here for notes wise would be PSG's for real. 2020 was a long season, but it was worth it. All the waits, all those months waiting for COVID and Project Restarts were worth it with how it turned out at the end.
Yep.
Chelsea is going to be a great talking point for us probably in the next 2 weeks. We're looking to get a little project going on that and see what we can do as a podcast and as a social media page for you all. And we appreciate everyone tuning in for our first soccer season of the podcast and everything we have to offer for you guys. So thank you, Tyler. Have a great night. This is a good time. Look forward to talking.
A good one.
And diving into the Premier League a little bit. I'll see you.
Awesome. Have a great night.
Bye, everyone. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, and Instagram, The Reserve Squad.